athletes and coaches and Nashvillians and Tennesseans that exist in here. It is amazing.
I hope that people remember me based upon character and integrity above all else.
And I want to say thanks to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame.
And to all the fans, it's an honor.
I have never had an honor of this significance.
You know, of all the states that I played in, Tennessee will always be my favorite.
After I got over the shock, it was one of the happiest moments I've ever had.
Welcome to the beautiful Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame inside Bridgestone Arena here in downtown Nashville. I'm Mike Keith, welcoming you to a celebration of sport in the volunteer state. Every year, the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame inducts a new class and honors the best sports performances of the previous 12 months. The Tennessee Titans sponsored the dinner. It's a fantastic night. Obviously, with the pandemic, we were not able to host that dinner this year. But over the next 2 hours, we're going to tell the stories of our inductees and our honorees, and you're going to be blown away. The inductees include people like Heath Schuler, Tony Delk, D'Angelo Williams, Jeff Fisher, Tim Corbin. Those names you know. Some of the names that you don't know as well, some of their stories are maybe even more amazing. You'll hear those too. And the honorees, how about Derrick Henry from the Tennessee Titans? You know him. They're also people that are honored by the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame for contributions outside the world of sports. That's why tonight we'll honor Miss Dolly herself, Dolly Parton. The chairman of the board of directors of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame is none other than PHILLIP FULMER. Coach Fulmer, of course, is an inductee of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame himself, and he joins us now on the program. Coach Fulmer, talk, if you would, about the impact of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame on you and people who hail from this state. Give us your feelings on what it means.
Well, Mike, for one, I think it's important that we honor and acknowledge, our people that are successful in anything they do. Our sporting figures oftentimes are leaders in the community. They do great things to bring recognition to their communities, to our state, and oftentimes nationally and internationally. And we have such a tremendous history of athletes and coaches in many, many fields. It's obvious sometimes in football and baseball and basketball, but many, many areas that people have accomplished things that are rare, and we get a chance to recognize those and gather now, once a year to honor those, but yearly and daily. Actually a chance to become more aware of our history.
Leadership of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame has always felt like it was important that this hall represent every part of the state, all 95 counties, and I know you believe that too, right?
It is important to me, coming from a small community myself, and to, understand the rich history that our little county has had for the state of Tennessee, and representing again on a national and sometimes international level. It's just as important coming from Brownsville or Dyersburg or Mountain City, and for us to gather and be able to recognize those individuals and oftentimes their sports that everybody doesn't on a day-to-day basis hear about, has just been really, really special to see and be a part of. And I owe a great service to my county. They gave me an opportunity at Franklin County High School to get started, and I'm honored to be able to honor them, by being in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame myself, and having a chance to share that with many, many people from even smaller places.
Phillip, if you would, tell people how they can get involved with the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame.
Well, come visit. It's a great scene there in Bridgestone, and it's really been updated and as a special place. Get involved in our local communities, and as much as you can, get involved on the state level, and obviously financially, if there's a way to do that, certainly get involved.
Phillip, thank you so much for taking the time with us, and thanks for all that you do for the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. We go from one Hall of Fame coach to another Hall of Fame coach. Of course, Phillip Fulmer is already in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. This year, we induct Vanderbilt head baseball coach Tim Corbin, one of the best in college baseball history. In a small town in New Hampshire, a child of just 7th grade led and organized a youth hockey league. Showing this kind of leadership at such a young age would foreshadow the leader that he would become. Fortunately for the Vanderbilt Commodores baseball team, that boy would become their head coach, Tim Corbin.
I enjoyed baseball. I think I could see baseball being more of what I was going to do maybe later on in 21, 22 years of age. I felt like this was something I wanted to do.
Corbin received his first head coaching job at Presbyterian from 1988 through 1993, where he took the then dormant program from the NAIA to NCAA Division II status. He was named the South Atlantic Coach of the Year.
But we had no field, we had no budget, we didn't have a recruiting budget. So it was very difficult, but at the same time, it was probably the best experience I had because you just learned how to do as much as you could with less.
Corbin went on to coach several more years as an assistant coach for Clemson before finding himself in the Volunteer State as the new head coach of Vanderbilt University's baseball team. Under Corbin's leadership, Vanderbilt baseball has flourished.
How do they have the best baseball program in the country? Well, it starts because we have the best coach in the country. He's not just committed to baseball. He's committed to cultivating talent. He's committed to developing young people. He's committed to building community.
At the Vanderbilt baseball banquet he goes through every guy on the team and he lists their brothers, sisters, if they're there, mom and dad's names. And I asked him one day, I said, how do you do that? And he said, when you're so immersed into somebody else, you really realize, you empathize with them. Being able to meet people and talk to people how he does is something that I'll always do.
Corbin has led Vanderbilt to 14 consecutive NCAA tournament appearances and holds the record for the most all-time wins at Vanderbilt. Through his guidance, the Vandy Boys, as they are affectionately called, have had 4 College World Series appearances, including 3 trips to the finals and 2 national championships.
The delivery, swing and a miss, strike 3. Dreams do come true.
Corbs, as far as the national championship, he had a vision. I just remember sitting there feeling like, this is us right now. Like this is what was meant to happen. It's just a tremendous job of giving the players and the coaches and their families the ability to enjoy that experience, but at the same time, keeping their eyes on the prize.
Corbin's leadership has had a huge impact on Vanderbilt players. Since he took the helm, they have earned $62 million in signing bonuses, and 23 players have gone on to play Major League Baseball. We're happy to induct Tim Corbin into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, class of 2020. And after telling that incredible story, we welcome Coach Tim Corbin, both figuratively and literally, to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. What about this place?
Amazing. First time I've been in here, and to be in the state 19 years and then to come inside and see the shrine of athletes and coaches and Nashvillians and Tennesseans that exist in here, it is amazing.
Would you have thought when you were, say, in high school, that you would be a coach at this moment in your life, that it would have gone this way?
No. Teacher, yes. Coach, that was the hope. I mean, I was trying to be a teacher and a coach at the high school level and started out that way.
When I walk through the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, I'm struck by the athletes, most of the names that we know, but I'm really struck by the coaches that are in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, the group that you now join. Anybody in this group that you are joining that really blows you away to know you're on the list with at this moment?
Pat Summitt. I mean, I think pure and simple. We were talking about her before we came in, and I always admired her. Every time that she would come to Vanderbilt to play, I would go down there the night before and go to the court and just say hello to her.
Regardless of sport, what's the secret to being a successful coach?
I don't know if there's a secret so much as it is stick-to-itiveness, passion for what you do. I think if you have a high care level for what you do, you can be successful to some degree, but it's really putting the participants first.
When somebody watches Vanderbilt baseball, what's the one thing that you hope they take away from watching the Commodores play?
Passion for the game of baseball and a certain discipline that exists in terms of their movements and their connection with one another. I think the human connection with how the boys operate and how they care about the university and how they care about themselves, that's seeable, it's visual, it's HD quality. And I would always want a young kid who is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, if they came in, said, I want to play like that someday, I want to be a part of a culture like that someday.
One of your current kids, pitcher Kamar Rocker, is the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame Amateur Athlete of the Year, presented by Adams and Reese, LLP. Something very, very special. Now, I remember Dad, Tracy Rocker. I remember uncles, David and Stacy, played in the defensive line at Auburn. When I watch this guy pitch, there's some defensive linemen in him at how he goes at hitters.
What a tremendous honor for a young man like him to do what he did in 2019 as a young kid, and his performances with so much team riding on them at the time, just spectacular.
Well, I congratulate you, and I think everybody who loves college baseball knows this is a great moment for the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame to include Tim Corbin. And I also want to talk to you about something related to Pat Summitt, and that is the Pat Summitt Lifetime Achievement Award, which is presented by Mike Curb, who is a Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame inductee, and his company Curb Records. The winner of that this year is Cumberland's baseball coach, Woody Hunt, who is a legend in so many different ways. From your viewpoint, which is obviously incredibly unique, to see Coach Hunt and what he's meant, how do you describe him?
Integrity personified, and the ability to compete, but do it in such a humanistic way. I mean, just a tremendous honor. That goes hand in hand, Pat and Woody. To me, that's a great mix.
It's a perfect marriage as we tell the story of Woody Hunt, this year's Pat Summitt Lifetime Achievement Award winner, presented by Curb Records. When Coach Ronald Hunt, also known as Woody, first stepped onto the Cumberland University baseball field some 40 years ago, it consisted of only half a ball field with a backstop and 2 concrete dugouts. A lot has changed at Cumberland over the following years, and it all started with Coach Hunt.
I've really never met a coach like Woody Hunt, who's a legend, who's humble, but also a winner.
After coming to work here for the first couple of years, I was a little intimidated by Woody. He gave me the opportunity to be a college coach.
Coach Hunt has an impressive 1,193 wins in his time at Cumberland. His teams have won an amazing 21 conference championships, including 14 consecutive championships from 1989 through 2002. Even after all of those wins, it's safe to say that a few specifically stand out.
By not even close, my favorite baseball memory is the 2014 National Championship. And that team just had so much resiliency. We just fought all year long.
But he and his son, Ryan, he and Woody hugging each other there on the field after we won the championship, and just, tears of joy. To see that all come to fruition there that night in Lewiston, Idaho, it was just a very special night when we defeated Oklahoma City that evening.
On the national stage, award-winning Coach Hunt has led the Bulldogs to 10 NAIA World Series appearances. When you meet someone that knows Coach Hunt, they all state how he shows his leadership through his actions and his humility. From washing players' uniforms in the bathtubs the night before a game to his continued dedication to cutting the grass of the field, he truly leads by example.
3 different Coach Hunts. There's the one that recruits you, the one you play for, and then now the one post-play. And they're all different people. They're all great. He's helped me through a lot. He's been a big mentor in my life, and I'm thankful for him.
He thinks you're special rather than he's a legend who's also a great coach. He gets all these players from all over the place to mesh and come together
If you look out on the Cumberland baseball diamond on a summer day, you might find someone cutting the grass. It may be the groundskeeper or the head coach of the Cumberland Bulldogs himself, Woody Hunt. He still does the work every day. The Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame is proud to present Coach Hunt with the Pat Summitt Lifetime Achievement Award.
Well, thank you. I'm very honored to receive this prestigious award, named after maybe the most influential coach in the history of Tennessee sports. Her name is well known throughout the whole country, and I'm just honored that they, to be named after this great award here.
We go from one legend to another. The David Williams Significant Historical Achievement Award winner for this year is the late Perry Wallace. He's already a member of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, and unfortunately we lost him 3 years ago. But Perry Wallace, integrating Southeastern Conference basketball in the late 1960s, changed the landscape of sport forever. Perry Wallace was born in Nashville in 1948. Wallace played basketball and ran track for the then segregated Pearl High School. Wallace won All-Metro, All-State, and All-America honors. He was also the valedictorian of his high school class.
I would say that education and faith were the two most important elements of the Wallace family as Perry was growing up.
Coming out of high school as one of the top prospects in the country, Wallace could have chosen a number of places for college. He contemplated leaving the tumultuous South and going up north, but eventually he decided to stay in his hometown of Nashville and enrolled as a scholarship athlete at Vanderbilt University. But for an African-American basketball player at a mostly white private college in the South, the road would not be easy.
It was so Southern and so backwards and so racially divided. He had never had a white teacher in his life.
We both suffered a vile form of discrimination, which expected us to be happy. Many can disagree about what we did or what we said at that time, but to tell young men not to express their feelings of fear and despair was a real tragedy at that time.
So that was hard for him, to be the pioneer, but maybe not always appreciated on either side. Frankly, he was very much alone.
Wallace became the first African-American varsity basketball player in the SEC. He led the team in rebounding each year with a career average of 11.5 boards per game, the second best in school history.
He was a tremendous rebounder. I like to push the ball up the court. He'd get the rebound, kick it out to me, and we would start running.
Wallace was the first black athlete to complete 4 years at an SEC school, but it didn't come without a price.
Perry did everything that they asked him to do. And then when his playing days was over, he sat down for an interview and talked about the fear, the isolation, and the pain that he felt during his college career and how he felt incomplete.
Perry Wallace went on to become a trial attorney at the United States Department of Justice. He became a professor of law at the American University Washington College of Law in 1993, and in 2004, Vanderbilt retired his jersey number 25.
Anybody who would look at him and say he was just a basketball player would be missing the boat, because he was truly a Renaissance man, truly well-rounded, and what he did for this conference, what he did for this city, what he did for this university, it's a debt that we can probably never repay.
Through his legacy, he paved the way for so many others to come. The Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame is honored to present Perry Wallace with the David Williams Significant Historical Achievement Award.
I just want to give my gratitude to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. You guys literally did not have to reach out or reach back, and people are always looking for something new and exciting and a new person to celebrate. But the fact that you reached a little bit back to honor Perry, I am very touched. My daughter and I were very, how do I put it? To live with a person of that stature, and I'm not trying to make him into who he wasn't, but it's the who he was that counted. His absence is well felt. to be around him, to be with him, to laugh. He was a real raconteur, a real Southern brother who liked to sit and talk and tell stories. So that absence is important to us as a family. And the fact that you all took the time to bring Perry into the fold and to honor him is very special. And I truly am appreciative. I want to thank you all very, very much.
We've got a lot more coming up on the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special presented by the Tennessee Titans, including Derrick Henry and John Robinson from the Titans, along with Heath Shuler, Tony Delk, and a lot more. But up next, it's Miss Dolly herself, our Tennessean of the Year. Stay with us. Now we spotlight our male amateur team of the year, and it's pretty obvious because they were national champions. Vanderbilt's baseball team, under the gentleman you saw earlier, Tim Corbin, a 2020 Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame inductee. Congratulations to the Vanderbilt baseball team, our male amateur team of the year, presented by the Nashville Predators. Now a very special award. It's the Tennessean of the Year, and it's presented by our good friends at Delta Dental. The Tennessean of the Year is presented to an individual or a company who has a positive impact on society, either through sports or other methods. And in this year, which, as we all know, has been so odd in so many different ways, the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame looked to someone who did things to not only help, but to find ways to make us be positive and keep our spirits up. Who better to do that than Dolly Parton? Dolly Parton is our Tennessean of the Year, presented by Delta Dental. Tennesseans are known for being friendly, philanthropic, and most of all, resilient, as we've seen through the pandemic, tornadoes, floods, and more. And no one fits this description better than Tennessee's own Dolly Parton.
Sure, I think one of the more compelling aspects of Dolly's story really is the beginning. I mean, not much was expected of a young woman, and certainly a lot of people just never thought they could leave the place where they were born. So to be able to flourish in that kind of environment and to be able to dream in that kind of situation, she not only pulled herself from that, she wanted a different place. To be able to do that is quite admirable, and she took a lot of people with her on the journey as well.
This humble upbringing gave Dolly a drive and work ethic unmatched in the country music world. She is the most honored and revered female country singer-songwriter of all time.
She's an amazing example of leadership. She simply sets the tone and the inspiration for them wanting to do great things.
A profitable career was not enough for Dolly, and with Tennessee volunteer mindset, she turned her fame into a way to give back to her home state.
Anytime there's a need in the state, such as the wildfires that we had here in East Tennessee, she's the first to step up and raise funds. I think we raised $13 million.
One of her largest altruistic acts was the creation of the Imagination Library.
So when I was first hired with the foundation as the executive director, the task really became to take the program she created in Sevier County, the Imagination Library, and really see if other communities would be interested. Fast forward to today, we're now gifting a book a month to 1.6 million children in 5 different countries.
For her efforts in Tennessee, Dolly was able to take her program to the United States and the world, with over 130 million books donated worldwide.
I mean, Dolly Parton is Tennessee. Her presence really is amazing, and everyone just seems to like her. I think it's just because that's who she really is down underneath. Her personality and the way she projects herself. She's just a genuinely very nice and very fine person, and people see that in her.
If we could all just have a piece of Dolly's immense personality, our world would be a better place.
Wherever you go, when Tennessee and Dolly are connected, it really, the image of the state, the appreciation of the state, and all we have to offer is increased, gosh, 1,000,000 times, because Dolly Parton is from here, and Dolly Parton is proud to be from here.
From her coat of many colors while working 9 to 5, no dream is too big and no mountain too high for this country girl who turned the world into her stage. We are so pleased to present Dolly Parton as the Tennessean of the Year.
Hi there, this is Dolly, and I want to say thanks to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame for naming me Tennessean of the Year. I love this. This is going in my museum in Dollywood. Thank you.
Betty Giles, Bruton Smith, Terry Crisp, all 2020 inductees coming up on this Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special presented by the Tennessee Titans. Welcome back to our Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special presented by the Tennessee Titans. You got a good look at some memorabilia from the Nashville Predators and their 20-plus year history here in town. Well, the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame is located inside Bridgestone Arena. That, of course, is the home of the Nashville Predators. And they've had a lot of fantastic moments in their nearly quarter century playing in the Mid-South. But one of the things that they had to do early on was introduce people in this region to the game of hockey, to teach them the nuance, to make them love it. One of the guys most responsible for that was not a player or a coach, at least not here. Broadcaster Terry Crisp arrived with an incredible NHL resume as a player and a coach. But by the time he got here, Crispy was ready to impart the knowledge and make people love the game of hockey. Terry Crisp, known as Crispy to his beloved fans, has succeeded in virtually every aspect of hockey imaginable. As a player, he won the Stanley Cup. As a coach, he won the Stanley Cup. And as a broadcaster, he's an irreplaceable natural.
Hey, Grind City, Crispy here. Guess what? Playoffs. Best time of the year.
Hailing from Parry Sound, Ontario, Crisp's career as an NHL player was explosive. He posted 201 points in 536 games during his 11 seasons in the NHL as a player for the Boston Bruins, the inaugural team for the St. Louis Blues, the inaugural team of the New York Islanders, and for the Philadelphia Flyers. Topping everything, he won 2 Stanley Cup championships with the Flyers in 1974 and 1975.
He was on the ice for the final minutes of play when the Flyers won their first Stanley Cup. His coach at the time, Fred Sherrill, put him out to make sure that the guy who was coming out of the penalty box, Terry's homie, Bobby Orr, did not score to tie things up and send the game into overtime. And as a result of that, Crispy ended up with the puck at the end of the game from the Flyers' first Stanley Cup win in 1974.
Once Crisp stopped playing hockey, he wasn't done winning. He became the head coach of the Calgary Flames and took them to a Stanley Cup championship in 1989. He's one of only 14 people to have won the cup as both a player and a head coach. After he retired from the NHL, he would become an amazing sports broadcaster.
When Terry first came and joined me on the first Predators telecast, he did it as a favor. When it was all over, they said, "Hey, do you want to come back?" He decided to call their bluff. "If you give me a 3-year contract, I'll sell my house in Tampa and move here." And they said, okay.
From the Nashville Predators' first season in 1998 to now, Crisp joined Pete Weber, forming one of the most well-known broadcast duos in the league.
Those two guys and the way they played off of each other, they connected our city, all Smashville, with the 100-year history of the NHL. And I think that's why our fans are so rabid about everything that we do.
Crisp has been part of the Predators' Emmy-winning broadcasts in 2003, 2008, and 2010.
Wants to go out of his way to help anyone that he possibly can. I feel extremely fortunate to have gotten a chance to work with him as long as I have. He's really, really special. Like I said, I give him a lot of crap. He gives me a lot of crap, but we both know it's out of love and definitely near to my heart.
Crisp has done it all when it comes to the world of hockey and undeniably deserves the recognition. Welcome to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame class of 2020, Terry Crisp.
Hi everybody, Terry Crisp here, and why am I here? Because I have the privilege and the honor of being inducted into the 2020 Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, and I want to just tell you all, when Brad first approached me at one of our broadcast meetings, I thought he was punking me. I thought they were playing a joke on me. So Brad's talking, I'm looking around, suddenly I realized, hey, Brad is serious. And from then on, it's history, and I feel so proud, and I'm excited about it. Why am I excited? Because I'm a young Canadian kid going into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. And I'm joining Kim Corbin going in this year, Jeff Fisher going in this year. They're honoring Derrick Henry. Oh, and by the way, they're honoring Miss Dolly Parton. What a crew that is to be going in with you. And you know what? I got to be honest. This would never happen to me as Terry Kiss. I would never be inducted into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame if the Nashville Predators had not made my wife and I part of their family and brought us into the broadcast crew. And throughout the years and throughout the state of Tennessee, we became, Pete Weber and myself, the voice of hockey. It was a great trip. It's a wonderful journey, but all because of this, I get the chance, and I want to thank the committee and everybody for inducting me and making me a part of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. I'm excited, and I can't wait for next year when we can have the induction all together. We can get together, have some fun, meet each other, and say congratulations. So to all of you, thank you so much to the Predators organization for making Sheila and I part of their family and making me into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Sports has the ability to change the world. It can do it in your neighborhood, it can do it in your community, it can do it in your state, and in some cases, it can do it in your entire country. The next Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame inductee that we will introduce you to is Betty Giles. She is someone that can absolutely say what she did for the world of sports changed the United States. When Betty Giles first became part of college athletics, women were only allowed to play at the intramural level. After graduating from Austin Peay and the University of Tennessee, she became a professor of physical education at UT Martin. From this position, Giles would go on to pave the way for the future of women's college athletics. Although for a young woman from Clarksville, Tennessee, the road was not always easy.
When they went on the road, I went on the road with them as their official. But we didn't travel on a nice van or a nice bus or anything of that nature. We drove cars.
But I've heard her and former female students tell of limited funding and homemade uniforms and low budget, travel arrangements.
But it was like a family. We just worked well together. But when we went out on the floor, it was business.
In 1966, Giles, along with other sports administrators, came together to create the Tennessee College Women's Sports Federation as a way to help push intercollegiate competition and championships for women's sports. The organization grew quickly, and Giles served as the first president of the organization.
She was relentless in creating opportunities for girls that we didn't have, for girls and women. And I'm forever grateful to her. She was my tennis coach, and we did go and play other teams in tennis. And so she created some opportunities for me that I would have never had. And I commend her for being such a pioneer.
Giles was the university's first and only director of women's athletics beginning in 1969 and remaining in that position until 1994. Giles continued to affect female athletes during her tenure at UT Martin, such as helping to shape a basketball star who would go on to be the winningest coach in basketball history, Pat Summitt.
Thank goodness Betty had the foresight to say, hey, it's time to have a women's basketball team at UT Martin, and then the rest is history. We know Pat was not only a great player, but in my opinion, male or female, the greatest coach we've seen.
We cannot begin to tell you how proud we are of you and for you for this unique honor.
All of the things that you've done for girls and women's sports, not only at UT Martin, in the state of Tennessee, and nationally. Thank you, and congratulations.
Giles' vast legacy has left a lasting impression on not only women's athletics, but everyone she meets in the state of Tennessee. We'd like to welcome Miss Betty Giles to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, class of 2020.
I want to take this opportunity to thank the Tennessee Athletic Hall of Fame. I have never had an honor of this significance. I feel so lucky that I had been chosen to be a part of this group. I am happy that I was able to be here today with so many people from the Hall of Fame, people that were interested, involved, and so forth in the Tennessee Hall of Fame, as well as my life here at the University of Tennessee at Martin.
Bruton Smith is a name that you know if you're a race fan. You know him because of Bristol Motor Speedway, but you also know him because this is somebody who's been an integral part of the racing business, not just for the racing itself, but for the experience of the race fans. That's why Bruton Smith was an easy one, easy to pick as an inductee as part of the 2020 Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame class. When Bruton Smith was just a child, he would join his dad and brother to watch car races in North Carolina. By 17, he bought his first race car and decided to become a professional driver. Smith's career as a racer didn't last long, as his mother wished against it. But luckily for the racing world, Bruton couldn't stay away from the track.
I always like to say he's got a relentless optimism. And my dad sees something difficult in his path that never held him back. It sort of charged him up to be able to work that much harder. He's part of that golden generation. It's very inspiring, and it still inspires me today, even more so now than when I was a kid.
Smith found that he had a knack for promoting races and would quickly become a major business pioneer and innovator across North Carolina and eventually Tennessee. Smith's Speedway Motorsports organization purchased the Northeast Tennessee half-mile oval in 1996. He built Bristol Motor Speedway and Dragway into a world-renowned sports entertainment destination.
I remember my dad kind of giving his vision, and I didn't see it at the time. You know, I just listened to him and I saw Bristol, and then, you know, years later, it's so amazing to see what Bristol Motor Speedway is.
Under his ownership, Smith more than doubled Bristol's seating capacity to create NASCAR's only 360-degree seat facility.
He's very much a hands-on leader. He's got his own specific ideas of how to do things and likes to push the envelope. People are entertained by it, and he stretches that entertainment element as far as he can.
But his visionary dreams didn't just stop at racing. After 2 decades in the making, Smith's dream of bringing college football to the Speedway happened as the Pilot Flying J battle at Bristol. The Tennessee Volunteers and Virginia Tech Hokies faced off in the most attended game in NCAA history. The game had an estimated $439 million economic impact.
Bruton's idea was it wasn't just a football game, those were two highly emotional groups of fans. It took him a while to pull it off, but when he did, it had a huge impact in all of sports.
Smith is not only an entrepreneurial visionary, but also an active philanthropist. Founded in 1996, the Bristol chapter of Speedway Children's Charities has raised nearly $16 million to support Tennessee-based child-focused agencies. From an 18-year-old promoting races to the industry pioneer we all know and love today, Bruton Smith has made a tremendous impact on racing and Tennessee. Welcome to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame class of 2020, Bruton Smith. When we continue with the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special, another nod to the Memphis Tigers. D'Angelo Williams, part of our 2020 induction class. You'll learn about his career next. Trey Smith helped the Tennessee offense to win its last 6 games of the 2019 season with a dominant performance in the offensive line. But what Trey Smith did off the field, civically and charitably, may be just as impressive. That's why Trey Smith is our Male Amateur Athlete of the Year, presented by Adams & Reese, LLP. Welcome back to our Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special, presented by the Tennessee Titans. Get a lineman like Trey Smith, you could certainly help a back make a lot of yards. And the back that we're going to show you next, he made a lot of yards when he played at the University of Memphis and in the National Football League. He is a 2020 Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame inductee, D'Angelo Williams. D'Angelo Williams is an athletic beast, beginning in high school where he dominated not only in football but also in track and field. Williams has always been a natural athlete.
He had all the things that you want in a running back. I mean, he had great vision, he had great speed, he had power. If you come here, you can be the guy. When they say D'Angelo 20 years from now, everybody will know, because you're going to be the guy that can change this program.
Williams continued to dominate the game throughout college while attending the University of Memphis. Williams was like nothing the town of Memphis had ever seen.
Well played, D'Angelo Williams, huge hole, 40, 30, 20, see ya, 10, 5, touchdown Memphis!
On the field, you saw him every time he got a carry, he finished to the end zone, came back, and did another and kept doing more plays. I give him credit for that because I couldn't do that every play. He's showing, I'm going to give you my best every chance I can. Every time I get the ball, I'm going to show you my best.
You know, he broke all kind of records. I think the NCAA, all-purpose yards. I mean, it was just pretty much what you anticipate. I'm not a big guy that believes in potential, but he maxed it out.
He set the NCAA record for most 100-yard rushing performances in a career with 34. In 4 years, Williams rushed for 55 touchdowns. His 7,573 all-purpose yards are also a school record, and the fourth most in NCAA FBS history.
You know, you got to realize now they had not been to a bowl game in 32 years. He made it. He made everybody better. Totally changed a program.
Williams was drafted in the 2006 NFL Draft by the Carolina Panthers. He holds the franchise single-season rushing record with 1,515 yards in 2008. He was part of some truly special teams in the NFL, and his game spoke for itself.
D'Angelo Williams, busting it to the outside.
After losing his mother to breast cancer in 2014, as well as a few of his aunts, Williams helped start the trend to wear pink in the NFL in order to bring awareness to breast cancer. Williams is not only a respected player in Tennessee, but an outstanding person as well. His charity work and contributions go far beyond the game of football.
You go to Memphis and you say D'Angelo, they all know who you're talking about.
He does so much to give back. He's always there doing charity stuff, cornhole tournaments he does there. He's always trying to give more and more back to Memphis as much as he can, because I think that's where his heart is, and his heart will always be in Memphis.
We're glad Tennessee is part of D'Angelo Williams' illustrious career. Welcome to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, class of 2020.
Thank you so much, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, for inducting me into the class of 2020 Hall of Fame. It's such an honor and a privilege to be a part of something so special. I understand with the pandemic and things going on that, you know, it didn't go the way that you guys planned it, but this still is so awesome that you guys would even sit and think about us in this capacity. Thank you so much.
D'Angelo Williams had an incredible career in the National Football League after starting off as a Memphis Tiger. When we continue with the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special presented by the Tennessee Titans, we're going to talk about the 2019 Professional Team of the Year, and I might have just mentioned their name, and we're going to talk about the Professional Athlete of the Year who might play for that team whose name I just mentioned. That's up next. Stay tuned. Welcome back to this Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special presented by the Tennessee Titans. Only fitting that we would begin this segment by showing you our Tennessee Professional Athlete of the Year, presented by Jasper Highlands, and that is the NFL's 2019 leading rusher, Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans. We bring in now to our program the Titans General Manager, John Robinson. John, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Mike. Appreciate you having me on. It's an honor. It's an honor to be here and be a part of this, the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame.
Let's talk about Derrick Henry, our 2019 Professional Athlete of the Year. As you look back at his season, what aspects of his year impressed you the most?
he's such a unique runner because of his size and his length. He's really a hard guy to tackle for defenders, and he's got excellent speed once you get him in space. He's almost like a freight train. When you get him rumbling down the track, it's hard to stop a train.
The Tennessee Titans were the 2019 Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame Professional Team of the Year, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. John, as you reflect back on last season for the Titans, what are the most special things to you as the general manager?
Ultimately, it's the players. We say it all the time. They're the ones that go out there and make the plays. But that team last year, they loved each other. They fought for each other. And when you have that type of bond as a football team, it's a powerful thing. And it helped propel us there at the end of the season to make a run in the playoffs.
John, I want to draw on your West Tennessee knowledge. One of the people being inducted into this year's class of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame is a great basketball player named Tony Delk. Now, he's from Brownsville. You are from Union City, as we just mentioned, and he was a couple years ahead of you in high school, but he was a West Tennessee legend that you yourself knew all about.
Yeah, I remember, when we were done with the football season, we would go support the basketball team. And we had a couple pretty good basketball players there at Union City. We were fortunate enough to go to the state tournament a couple times. And I can remember when Tony was a senior down there at Haywood, they were class 3A. We were class 2A at the time. And remember seeing him draining three-pointers from way outside the arc over in Murfreesboro. And then followed his career. I kind of grew up a Kentucky Wildcat fan because of my grandmother. She's from Kentucky originally, so she tried to pump some of that big blue in my veins, and followed his career up there at Kentucky. And just an outstanding basketball player, and an honor for him to be inducted into the Hall of Fame here in Tennessee.
John Robinson, thank you for the conversation about the Titans and for the insight on Tony Delk. We appreciate you. When we come back on this Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special presented by the Tennessee Titans, we will tell you the story of the sharpshooter from Brownsville, Tony Delk. Stay tuned. The Tennessee Golf Foundation presents our Tennessee Female Amateur Team of the Year. We congratulate the Tennessee Women's Swimming and Diving Team, who won their first ever Southeastern Conference Championship. Congratulations to the Tennessee Women's Swimming and Diving Team. As you walk through the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, there are a lot of great basketball players, men's and women's players. And a lot of what I do when I walk through is I say, oh man, that guy could shoot, or oh man, that girl could really shoot. Well, one of our 2020 inductees will go at the top of that list. As a matter of fact, there may not be anybody in this hall that was a better shooter than Tony Delk. When people think basketball cities, Brownsville, Tennessee wouldn't be at the top of any list. But in the early 1990s, a young man named Tony Delk would put the city on the map. Delk wasn't just good, he was great. In 1992, the TSSAA Mr. Basketball winner would sell out high school gyms until it was standing room only.
And then start hearing that, man, your little brother's pretty good. And, we didn't think a whole lot about it, Never in our wildest dream we knew how good he was going to be.
After being recruited by many colleges, Delk chose to attend the University of Kentucky. Once Kentucky fans learned of his commitment, they would drive to Brownsville to watch him play his remaining high school game.
He played before sold-out crowds every single night.
In the beginning of his Kentucky tenure, Delk had to learn patience. While the team persevered, he was forced to play off the bench and learn from the veterans on the team. By Delk's sophomore year, he was not only starting, but helping to lead the team.
Tony's a leader. He's not going to say much, he leads by example. So when he does say something, you really have to take it for what it's worth. A heck of a player, but even more heck of a person.
For the next 3 years, that Kentucky team, led by Hall of Fame coach Rick Pitino, built one of their greatest teams of all time. Delk led the way and received such accolades as First Team All-America, SEC Player of the Year, Most Outstanding Player of the Final Four in 1996, and a national championship.
He got one of those 4-point plays in a very key moment, and
we may actually have this national championship. It's all because Tony hung in there, had a defender running at him and still shot it correctly, hit his three, and then just got to hit a shot.
There you have it. Kentucky is the king of college basketball. 2.3 seconds remaining.
All of Delk's hard work paid off when he was drafted in the first round of the 1996 NBA draft with the 16th pick for the Charlotte Hornets.
The Charlotte Hornets select Tony Delk from the University of Kentucky.
He went on to play for 10 years in the NBA for 8 different organizations, and he made 7 playoff appearances.
Tony was a big shot maker. He shot the ball. It didn't matter whether we were up 20, down 20. He's shooting to make shots.
Life after basketball has seen Tony Delk take on new ventures. He currently has a private wine label. Delk also invests in businesses. One of his most proud is the Tony Delk iMac Regeneration Clinic in Lexington, Kentucky. Many Tennesseans are proud to be part of history, still remembering the standing room only crowds in the packed auditorium in Brownsville. Tennessee is where the great Tony Delk was born. And we welcome to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame class of 2020, the man himself, Tony Delk. Before he was a Kentucky Wildcat, he scored nearly 3,100 points as a Haywood Tomcat. We welcome Tony Delk to our Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special presented by the Tennessee Titans. Tony, we're so glad you're with us. Congratulations. And I want to start by asking you, what's your best memory of being a Haywood Tomcat?
I think my best memory is everyone will have it that I, scoring 70 points in one game. But I think just going to winning the sub-state game as a senior and going to the state tournament, that was so much fun. And it was such an exciting sub-state game in our home gym. Our fans were able to see us beat Memphis fairly and advance to the state tournament. So it was one of those moments that I would never forget, just how we stayed around and we were just so excited.
When I talk to Wildcat fans about their national championship teams, the 96 team is quite often the favorite of all of them. Why do you believe that is?
We had so much talent. When you have that much talent and all that talent sacrifice and come together, you have a really good group of men who understand their roles. What I knew was we needed 6 games to win a national title, and we had already run off 27 in a row, so I knew it was going to be possible.
So what does it mean to Tony Delk to be inducted into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame?
This is my birthplace. This is my home state. So there's nothing more gratifying than to be honored as one of the best players that ever come out of your state. And, it means so much to me because of what I did in high school. And like I said, the sacrifices that my teammates made for me, having a coach that allowed me to play my game and not hold me back and say, hey, Tony, you know what? We need to get these other guys involved. He was like, do what you do. He said, you are a scoring machine, and I'm going to allow you to do that. 3 of my really good friends, one from my high school, Kendall Dancy, Reginald Pete, and Willie Douglas, those were the guys that kept me together, kept me focused, and held me accountable. So if you're going to be inducted to any kind of Hall of Fame, who are the people around you that help you along the way? Because I didn't do this all by myself. I had a lot of help.
I want to ask you as we wrap up, Tony, you played basketball at Kentucky, so you played basketball all over the place with the Wildcats. You played for multiple NBA teams. You played internationally as well, so you've literally played basketball all over the world. What is the piece of Brownsville, Tennessee that you have taken and continue to take with you no matter where you go?
This would come from my mom, who I love dearly. She was definitely the backbone, and her and my dad, having been married for over 50 years, just being humble. Stay humble, live for today. Don't worry about tomorrow, don't live in the past. Is that, can you be the best Tony Delk you can possibly be every morning you wake up? Being in Brownsville and how they embraced me is something that I would never forget, and just always love going back. And, of all the states that I played in, Tennessee will always be my favorite.
Great stuff. Tony Delk, congratulations on being part of the 2020 induction class of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Got a lot more coming up on the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special presented by the Tennessee Titans. Stay with us. Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame's Amateur Female Athlete of the Year is presented by Alexander Thompson Arnold CPA. And for the second year in a row, it goes to Maria Bulanova, one of the best bowlers in the country. She represents Vanderbilt University. Welcome back to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special presented by the Tennessee Titans. Our next inductee for 2020 is one of my very favorites, basketball coach Sonny Smith. Guy was a great recruiter everywhere he was, and he was an excellent on-the-floor coach. But in terms of all-time entertaining people in the world of basketball, he rates at the very top, and I can't think of anybody else who's even close. Sonny Smith inducted as part of the 2020 class of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. Legendary coach Sonny Smith looks back at his childhood in Roan Mountain, Tennessee fondly. His family didn't have much growing up, but that humble upbringing would help shape the person Smith would become.
He said throughout the years that he really wanted to do things well for the people of Roan Mountain. We met, started talking, and I was telling him I'm from a small town in Alabama, and he said, "You think you had it tough?" He said, "I was 6 years old before I found out my name wasn't Get Wood."
After college, Smith coached high school basketball for 10 years before accepting an assistant's position at William & Mary College in 1969. He then spent 5 years as an assistant at Virginia Tech before returning to his home state and becoming the head basketball coach at East Tennessee State University.
He coached at East Tennessee for 2 years, and he was Coach of the Year. He coached at Auburn for a number of years, and he was SEC Coach of the Year twice. And then he went to VCU. They were in 3 different conferences. So everywhere he went, he sort of had to build the program, get the program going, and then he had good success once he got it going.
Smith helped resurrect the Bucks program and tied for the Ohio Valley Conference Championship in only his second season. His coaching achievements led him to be noticed by bigger schools, and eventually he became the head coach of Auburn in 1978. In 1981, after securing one of the nation's top high school prospects, Charles Barkley, Auburn was on the map.
And so we had a lot of fun recruiting against each other and trying to get players. And I called Sonny and I said, "I think you bought Charles Barkley a car." He said it was an old one. When he told me it was an old one, I knew it was pretty much over.
Under Smith's leadership, Auburn secured its first NCAA appearance in 1984. In 1985, Smith had planned to step down from Auburn once the season ended. But things quickly changed as Smith led Auburn to win the SEC Tournament Championship, winning 4 games in 4 days for the first time in tournament history.
The greatest thrill of my life, and the greatest bunch of kids I've ever coached.
He then took that team to the Sweet 16 of the 1985 NCAA Tournament. Smith would go on to lead Auburn to 3 more NCAA tournament appearances. This streak of 5 straight NCAA berths is the longest in Auburn history. Smith was again named SEC Coach of the Year following the 1988 season.
Certainly back then, go 5 straight years is unbelievable. In one of those years, they went to the Elite 8. So he had done a terrific job as a basketball coach.
And he's still the only coach that has won 20 games in 3 consecutive years.
Welcome to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, Class of 2020, Coach Sonny Smith.
I'm sitting doing the radio at an Auburn basketball game. I look up on the Jumbotron, and the governor of Tennessee is saying, "Sonny Smith, you're the newest member of the Sports Hall of Fame in Tennessee." And I was shocked. And after I got over the shock, it was one of the happiest moments I've ever had. I love Tennessee. I love Carter County. I love Roan Mountain. I want to thank the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame for putting up with me, because this is a lifetime dream for me.
Our next inductee into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame Class of 2020 is someone who has made golf a way of life for a lot of people, both young and old and everybody in between. But when I think about Dick Horton, the number one word that comes to mind isn't golf, it's class. The godfather of Tennessee golf began his journey in New York. As an 8-year-old boy, Dick Horton's mother worked at Colgate University, which allowed him to take advantage of the university-owned golf course. Besides playing the courses, Horton also cut the grass and sold golf balls he fished out of the lake.
I probably met Dick when I was probably 7 or 8 years old, playing on junior golf tours here in Tennessee. You know, Dick's always been somebody who's been really passionate about the game of golf, and you see that come through with everything he's done with Golf House of Tennessee. Really the first of its kind anywhere in the country.
I don't think that anyone can really understand what Dick Horton has meant to the game of golf in Tennessee. He's that important to this game.
In 1973, at age 24, Horton became the executive director of the Tennessee Section PGA, one of only 15 full-time golf executive directors in the country.
When you think about who kicked the door of our minds open in golf in Tennessee, there's no question who it was. It was Dick Horton. Back in 1973, when we hired Dick, we only had $3,500. Well, today that $3,500 is $22 million. I would call that a grand slam home run, Dick. Thank you.
Tennessee was one of only 3 states who had joint amateur and professional golf organizations, and Horton was determined to bridge the gap between the amateur and pro golfers, a feat that not many states achieved. In addition, Horton worked to grow the Tennessee Golf Association from 150 golf courses to 225 member clubs, and the Tennessee Section PGA membership from 150 to 500 golf professionals, all while establishing a uniform golf handicap service that grew to 44,000 users at its peak in 1999. But one of the highlights of Horton's rewarding career is the creation of Golf House Tennessee, built in Franklin in 1995.
You know, you look at these great states like Florida and Texas and California's huge, great golfing meccas, and Golf House in Tennessee was the first of its kind, a one-of-a-kind kind of thing.
Truly everything touching and related to golf is located right here on this property on Franklin Road. But it was a vision back then of having a home base, creating the little course around it to provide space for camps and clinics. There's a 60-bed dorm downstairs for kids that come for the overnight camps. And it's truly special across the country where you can call one place home like Golf House.
Nationally, Horton has also served on the board of directors for the Arnold Palmer Golf Company. And globally, in 2008, Horton was elected to membership in the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews, Scotland. Welcome to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame Class of 2020 to the godfather of Tennessee golf, Dick Horton.
This is an exceptionally special honor for me to have come here so long ago and get to do what I love to do, which is promote golf, get people involved in the game, and really I think the induction of myself is more of a symbol of all the people that play the game, all the ones that supported us, all the ones that helped us build Golf House and do all those things. You're really the Hall of Famers in our game, and I just got to be the fortunate one that got to sit in the front of the bus and drive it and direct it, and so it's a great honor. And the people before me, you know, maybe 600 people, I'm not really sure. And of course, I always look to see who the golfers were, and I can assure you to have my name alongside of those people from our sport, golf, is a huge honor. But it's even greater honor to me with so many of the coaches and leaders in their various sports. It's a big deal, and I'm very appreciative. Thank you.
Carl Torbush is one of the great defensive minds of the last 30 to 35 years in college football. Look at his resume. Look where he coached. Look who he coached for. Look at the players that he coached and developed. The guy has been remarkably successful. His ties to the Volunteer State and where he came to understand and learn football, well, that started in East Tennessee, and it started him on his way to something very special. When Carl Torbush was in 7th grade, his family moved from East Spencer, North Carolina to Knoxville, Tennessee. The move agreed with Torbush athletically, as he would become a star athlete at Austin East High School, playing for legendary coach Bob Polston.
You can count on him. You can count him. He was a good center and linebacker. He was a captain, good leader.
growing up in Knoxville, he was the only white player on Austin East football team. But to Carl, it didn't make him any difference. He just wanted to play football.
Remaining in the state of Tennessee for college, Torbush was a star at Carson Newman University in both baseball and football.
I got to know Carl's intensity, football IQ, leadership, all those type of things that you knew he was going to be a special guy.
After a brief stint as a baseball player for the Kansas City Royals, Torbush found his true calling, coaching.
He made it because he came out of the old school, and he didn't put up with any foolishness.
He was a stickler for the little things. If you started with the wrong foot, it was a minus.
Letting a little thing slide is just not in our DNA, and I think we owe a lot of that to Coach Torbush.
He built a strong reputation as a defensive strategist after having served as defensive coordinator at 6 FBS programs, including Alabama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Kansas, Texas A&M, and the University of North Carolina.
I really trusted Carl. I thought he was one of the better defensive coordinators in the country.
To me, he was the full ball of wax as far as the football coach is concerned. The kids loved him and played hard for him, and he was a great man.
He later became head coach of the Tar Heels, and Torbush guided UNC to 2 bowl wins. He has been part of 11 teams that made bowl appearances. If you throw a rock in the football world, chances are you'll hit someone who knows Coach Torbush and speaks very highly of him.
That he always put God first in front of everything, and I'm glad I was able to follow some of that. And
in 2013, Torbush, along with some great friends he collected along the way, came back to help restart East Tennessee State's football program, which had not played since 2003.
You're a great man, a great friend. I owe so much of my life to you. You convinced me to come to Carolina. Remember, I'm the true buffet killer, not you.
We knew that you had the Hall of Fame in you, and you showed us how to be a Hall of Fame man in the way that you carried yourself.
I'm very glad you are in our lives, and you really do mean a lot to us.
I'm so proud to welcome him into the family.
Carl Torbush, welcome to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame class of 2020.
Well, I want to say it's a tremendous honor and privilege, and with great humility that I get to be in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. I know a lot of people that are in there, and all of them I have respected my entire life, or my entire coaching career, playing career. But, as a player in high school, as a player in college at Carson Newman, as a coach for many, many years, it's really a great honor to end your career up and know that people obviously think pretty good of you.
We've got a lot more coming up on the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special, so please stay with us. Welcome back to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame in Nashville, inside the Bridgestone Arena, and this Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special presented by the Tennessee Titans. Stay with the football theme here for a minute. There was a great coach somewhere, and I don't know who he was, but he once said, "You ain't winning nothing without a quarterback." Well, it's true. And for the Tennessee Volunteers, they had a quarterback that came on campus in the early 1990s that totally changed the game for them. Took them to a different level. I'm talking about 2020 Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame inductee, Heath Shuler. Heath Shuler grew up in the small town of Bryson City in the Great Smoky Mountains on the Tennessee border. His humble upbringing would inspire the drive and work ethic he needed to become one of the greatest University of Tennessee quarterbacks of all time.
I had a chance to not only hear about Heath and his playing ability, but saw enough tape, it seemed like go from here to the moon, because he was just an unbelievable player.
Shuler thrived for Swain County High School, where he led the Maroon Devils to 2 state championships and was awarded the North Carolina High School Player of the Year award.
So it was not a highlight here or there, it was a highlight almost every play. All he needed was an opportunity, and we wanted it to be at the University of Tennessee.
Shuler was sought after by everyone and eventually chose the University of Tennessee.
First met Heath, I believe it was 1991. It's my sophomore year, he came in. He was a great leader. You know, he was always on point, always trying to do the right thing. I mean, his arm strength was unmatched. If you go back and watch old film, you can see him throw crossing routes across the middle of the field like a dart. He threw the ball so hard one time, it split the side of the helmet on one of the receiver's hands on a curl route, and that's just how hard he threw the ball.
Under legendary coaches John Majors and PHILLIP FULMER, Schuler would go on to break nearly every volunteer passing record by the end of his collegiate career.
So athletic, still the strongest arm that I've been around.
In 1992, his first year as a starter, Schuler threw for 10 touchdowns against only 4 interceptions with a quarterback rating of 133, while leading the Volunteers to a 9-3 record. The following year, Schuler threw 25 touchdown passes and upped his passer rating to over 157. That same season, he finished second in the Heisman Trophy balloting to Charlie Ward of Florida State.
Heath is one of those dynamic guys. You don't get to be runner-up for the Heisman Trophy and just be a guy.
He had an opportunity to go to the NFL after his junior year.
Schuler spent 4 seasons in the NFL with Washington and New Orleans before returning to the University of Tennessee to complete his degree in psychology. In 2006, he became known as Congressman Schuler, as he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives from North Carolina and stayed for 3 terms.
Then I'd just like to say congratulations, Heath Schuler, being inducted into Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. You're in my state, so it's an honor to have you into the Hall of Fame here in Tennessee.
Heath, I want to congratulate you on this honor. I've always looked up to you, and congratulations.
We're proud to induct Heath Schuler into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame class of 2020. Great story of Heath Schuler. We're now joined by Heath Schuler on the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special presented by the Tennessee Titans. Heath, tell us what's going on with Heath Schuler and his family right now.
Well, Mike, first of all, it's great to see you. It's always incredible. Anytime we get a chance to reconnect is just an awesome time. You've actually made my week. So many awesome times we had back during the Tennessee volunteer days was just absolutely incredible. And, you know, it's amazing how quickly in life kind of passes you by in the blink of an eye. But, you know, it's been great. My son's at App State playing ball. My daughter's a sophomore in high school, and she dances all over the country on weekends. And it's just been, this is the greatest time of my life. I've never in my life before that I have felt, you know, I think as you grow older, you kind of feel more peace in things that you're doing. And we got a great little consulting firm that we put together with some incredible folks. And then with what's happened to the family, I couldn't be more excited and happy with where we are today.
When you got the word that you were being inducted into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, just curious, who was the first person you called?
Well, I called my brother. I mean, he's, you know, Benji and I have always been so close. And, you know, having, you know, played with him in high school, played with him in college. And, you know, that's part of it that things like that, I feel just, you know, grateful to be able to share with him. And
all right, I want to know, how responsible is Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame inductee from 2019, David Cutcliffe, in Heath Schuler getting into the same hall this year?
David Cutcliffe is the guy. I mean, he truly molded me as the quarterback that I became at Tennessee. And oftentimes I wish I would have had David at that next level too. It would have been very helpful. But taking nothing away from any of the other coaches, David is so responsible for where I am today, and not only from a football player, but as a person.
Is there a moment or a game from your time at Tennessee that you think best defines your time in Knoxville?
You know, there's always so many great moments, but you know, I think, you know, I would like for it to have happened at Tennessee, but it actually happened between the hedges in Georgia. And that was the play in which most people don't realize this. I mean, you know, David still uses it. 62 Meyer was the pass play, and you know, it's a deep over the top post, a clearing route, and then an under and kind of a deep end route that Ronald Davis actually ran. And Craig Faulkner had to run the safety off, try to sneak it in. And in practice, we had not completed the pass, not one time. And we had probably ran it 3 or 4 times, and I just didn't have a great feel for it. You know, it just wasn't. It was a new play that we'd kind of put in that week and made a few changes. And yeah, I could dump it off when I needed to, but really hitting that crossing route was tough. And that play was it. We went to the huddle and, you know, just tried to convince everyone. And of course, having Coach FULMER on the sidelines was, you know, giving me the play. Let's run 62 Meyer. And we went in the huddle, and you know, the offensive line did a great job. I mean, you could have stood back there all day. Ronald did it. Everyone did their part. And ultimately, we got a chance to win that game and go in and, you know, being behind and, you know, having 80 yards staring you in the face, and you got to score. And we actually, you know, a great team effort we had.
As people tour the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, Heath, and they see your name among all these greats, what do you hope they know about you?
Wow, you know, I think it goes back to what my parents told me. And, you know, it's not about the number of touchdowns and accolades. It's not about, you know, your checking account. It's not about those materialistic things that you have. It's truly about the difference you made in people's lives. So I hope that people remember me based upon character and integrity above all else.
We appreciate Heath Shuler taking time with us on the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special presented by the Tennessee Titans. The Titans' first head coach is on deck. That's right, another 2020 Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame inductee, Jeff Fisher, standing by. He's up next. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special, presented by the Tennessee Titans. When the Titans moved to the Volunteer State, their head coach was Jeff Fisher. He remained the coach for a total of 14 seasons, had a tremendous amount of success, won a lot of big games. But Jeff Fisher's impact on Tennessee, all of Tennessee, was a lot more than just about wins and losses and other stats. In the process, Jeff Fisher became Tennessee's NFL coach. Former Tennessee Titans head coach Jeff Fisher is a Tennessean. He wasn't born here, he didn't go to college here, but while coaching some truly monumental moments, he fell in love with the state.
A wonderful coach to have played for, one of the best coaches I've ever played for.
Very, very detailed coach, and his players played like that.
Hey, listen up! We got a little uphill climb, that's all!
He went on to play football in college for the USC Trojans, winning a national championship in 1978. Fisher followed his college career with a great run playing for the historic Chicago Bears team that ended with a Super Bowl 20 win in 1985. Then Fisher found his true calling. In 1994, Fisher was named the Oilers head coach for the last 6 games of the season. The next year, he was retained as head coach, and he started to bolster the roster. Fisher was building something great.
Coach Fisher's strengths as a leader is one who listens and he adapts.
Unknowingly to him at the time, Fisher would find his forever home in Tennessee when the Oilers relocated to become the Tennessee Titans.
And he doesn't get a lot of credit for navigating a team from one location to another.
During his time in Music City, Fisher led the team to 6 playoff appearances, 3 division titles, 2 AFC Championship game appearances, 1 AFC Championship, and an appearance in Super Bowl 34.
There was something special brewing in the air in '99. Get a sense that, man, this could really be a special year. And Jeff just said, hey boys, you're home now.
Fisher would continue to guide the Titans through the ups and downs over the next 10 seasons, with historic comebacks, play calls, and record-breaking performances.
My husband loved his job. He loved working for Coach Fisher. Coach let him be very creative, and they worked very well together. My husband trusted him.
Jeff Fisher's 173 career wins place him 11th all-time in NFL history. But wins aren't the only thing that concerned Coach Fisher.
Jeff has been an unbelievable supporter of the Heimerdinger Foundation, which we formed shortly after my husband's death, helping build up the name of the Heimerdinger Foundation that feeds cancer patients.
Jeff Fisher will always be known as one of the greatest Titans of all time. And Tennesseans everywhere are proud that he claims Tennessee as his forever home.
I just want to thank you again, not only for our professional relationship for over all these years, but for our personal relationship.
God bless you. Enjoy this time, man. I love you. Tighten up.
Thanks for everything, Coach Fisher. We welcome you to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, class of 2020. And so now we're joined by the man himself, 2020 Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame inductee, Jeff Fisher. And Coach, I got to know, are you finally over the fact that you were tricked when you found out you were being inducted into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame?
You know what, Mike? It took a while to settle in. I don't know if you were behind it or not, but I know Coach McGinnis was. But I came in there just to visit with the guys and talk about something. It was combine or something. And then people started walking in. Brad Willis walked in. The camera crew walked in. And something's wrong with this picture here. So, yeah, I'm over it. I'm still really excited, and honored to be a part of that class.
Coach Fisher, if I'm not mistaken, your first visit to Tennessee was almost 40 years ago to the day. September 13th, 1980, USC playing at Tennessee, second game of the season. Incredible ball game, 17-17. Vols are driving late, maybe for the winning score. There's an interception. USC takes it back into Vol territory, kicks a field goal on the last play of the game, and the Trojans win 20-17. The man who intercepted that pass was Jeff Fisher. And as you and I worked together for years, people would mention this to you occasionally. And as the team was getting settled, the Oilers becoming the Titans, you were somewhat reluctant to talk about it at times, not because you were ashamed, but because you didn't want to offend any of the Vol fans.
Well, yeah, you're right there. And you described the moment much better than I lived it at the time. It was a memorable experience for me, to say the least. And, over the years, it's been fun to, talk about those memories. And as you say, Mike, that was my first legitimate memory of thousands that took place in the great state of Tennessee.
In terms of your memories, where does the 10-0 start in 2008 rank in your time as the Titans coach?
A lot going on, quarterback change. Kerry had the keys, and we were off and running, and we kept going and going. And you look back and you go, it was a great start. And people forget about that. It's hard to win 2 in a row in the league, let alone 10. And people start talking about the Miami Dolphins of '72, and will the Titans do it? And we just stayed focused and got the playoffs, and then things fell short for us.
We like to say in Tennessee that no matter where you're from, once you move here, you become a Tennessean. And I know it was that way over 14 years as the head coach for you. You became, this state's pro coach. Everywhere you went, people knew Coach Fisher. But I also want you to talk about the experience of raising your 3 kids here and what that has meant to you, yourself, and your family in becoming Tennesseans.
Mike, it's interesting you brought that up. Just moments ago, before we came on, I was talking to my youngest son, Trent, who was teaching at CPA and also coaching there. And, when you talk about this profession and the fact that my kids were 5 years apart in age, the 3 of them, and all of them attended the same elementary, middle, and graduated from the same high school. That doesn't happen in national football. It really doesn't happen in many vocations anymore, but especially professional sports. And, it was a blessing for us, for the family, and I'm blessed to have been a part of that for so long.
Certainly the story of sports and the history of the state of Tennessee cannot be told without you, Jeff Fisher, which is why you're part of the 2020 induction class of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. We thank you for taking time with us on this Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special.
Well, Mike, thank you so much as well for your contribution and your part in this, to Brad Willis, to everybody with the Hall of Fame, and to all the inductees and to all the fans. It's an honor. I can't wait to live it in person once things settle down. So truly, I'm honored and humbled, and thank you once again.
When we come back, we'll tell you how you can get involved with the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame and wrap up this Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame induction special presented by the Tennessee Titans. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame in Nashville and this special presented by the Tennessee Titans. Proud to be joined by Brad Willis, the Chief Advancement and Operations Officer of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. First and foremost, this place looks fantastic.
Thank you very much. It really is a great testament to sports in the state of Tennessee. We want it to be a living monument to all the names that have been inducted into this great place, and we're working to make it something that's really something everyone can be proud of.
And you want people to come to Bridgestone Arena in downtown Nashville and see you.
Absolutely. We're located right at the epicenter of tourism in downtown Nashville, right here at Bridgestone Arena. So many great stories in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame that you can learn about.
And the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame belongs to the people of Tennessee and needs the support to keep going.
Absolutely. We are a nonprofit 501c3 that's really supported by the kindness of donations, attendees, people that come to our banquet every year, and unfortunately not able to hold our banquet this year. And so we're inducting our class in a special new way, but obviously wanting to get the word out that people can go to our website at tshf.net, make a tax-deductible donation that helps us continue telling the story of sports in this state.
So for this class, the 2020 inductees and honorees, you're first in the role that you are with the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. What's it been like for you?
It's been incredible. I've been a witness to so many of these great stories growing up in this state, and to be able to get to know a lot of these people better, surprise them in some ways, and tell them they're going to be Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers. It's been really rewarding, and it's part of the job I really look forward to the most. We've got a great class, and it's been really wonderful getting to know all of them.
Coach FULMER, who is the chairman of the board of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, talked about being from Winchester and what that meant to him, the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame's impact. You're from Lewisburg. The connection that sports makes among all of these people and people everywhere is just huge in Tennessee.
Well, here's the thing about the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame in my mind. So many things that you think of in terms of names: Pat Summitt, Peyton Manning, Reggie White, Jess Neely, that set the standard in athletics, but also in many ways changed the world around them. Those are the stories that we want to tell. There are lots of great names in this hall that changed the world for the better, and it's great that those are part of this Hall of Fame as well.
So the message is simple. Come to Bridgestone Arena in downtown Nashville and visit the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. It'll be something special for you and those that you love and people that you want to learn about the history of sport in the volunteer state. And also keep it growing and make it stronger by giving your charitable donation to the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame at tshf.net. For Brad Willis, I'm Mike Keith. Thanks for joining us for the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame special presented by the Tennessee Titans.